Miss Sullivan, our last session, you mentioned about most of your days are filled with fear and anxiety. And how are you feeling today?
Not so anxious.
Not so anxious. Okay, good, good. Um, Tell me of a day or a last time that you felt anxiety. What was actually going on that day?
Well, I called the housing office, regarding my application to check the status of it. And it was so frustrating. They had me on hold forever. And then I eventually got cut off. I always check the status, whenever my daughter and I have an issue. Um, so, uh, I have been sewing quite a bit, so I don't feel so, anxious. It kind of calms me down. So,
Okay, okay, that's good. So if you can think of one word today to describe how you feel, what would that word be?
fear.
Fear. What are you fearful about? What's causing you fear?
My daughter is going to put me out. Then I'm going to be homeless. She's so verbally disrespectful to me. She's so abusive, and just feel like I don't have any choices right now.
Have you started looking at options as it relates to your living arrangements?
Well, I can't live with my son because his wife and I don't get along. Um, so that won't work. And I have a friend who lives in San Antonio, but that's just too far.
Okay. What about, do you have like other, like maybe someone at your church, maybe in your age group that might be looking for a roommate, or have you thought about that, or have anyone that might be looking for somebody to share a place with?
I mean, I don't have anyone that I can think of right now.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, I can certainly see your anxiety and your frustration in this situation. I can certainly understand where you're coming from. Have you ever thought about uh, just sharing your feelings with your daughter about how you feel and how she makes you feel?
No, no, because I don't want to upset her any more than I already have. I mean, it'll just make her even more angry at me, and I don't want to suffer any more verbal abuse that I already have.
Do you remember when this change came about in your relationship?
When I got remarried, um, I remarried a man I loved very much, but he cheated on me with other women, but I still loved him.
Yes. And I could see that that's a challenge also, when people mistreat you, and then in a way that you don't deserve. I can understand that could be very stressful as well. When you think about your relationship, I know you said you and your mother had a very close knit relationship when you were a child, and in fact, both your parents. But when you look at your mother's relationship and you compare your relationship and your mother relationship versus you and your daughter, where do you see the differences? Do you see any similarities or differences there?
My mother and I had a very close relationship. We loved each other very much. My daughter and I used to have a very loving relationship until I moved in with her into this new financial status of mine. So it's just really gone downward.
What do you think it's going to take in order to regain um, what you all had before?
Probably in order for me I need to be more financially independent of her.
If you think back to your childhood, can you recall a time in your life when you made a decision that your parents didn't agree with?
Yeah, for sure. I remember my dad didn't approve of a boyfriend that I dated, and he said that he was not good enough for me, and regardless of his feelings, I still dated him, and I dated him behind my father's back, and I lied to him, and um, eventually got caught. My family member caught us, and this made my dad really unhappy with me.
So how did it affect your relationship with your father?
He just didn't trust me anymore. He didn't.
What about your relationship with your mother? Did your mother kind of agree with your father, or did she have an opposing view? How did that work?
She agreed with him. She stood behind him. So whatever he said, she said too.
I see. So you would say you had a pretty normal childhood, what you would consider to be normal.
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay. So what ended up happening with that young man, or with that situation relating to that young man?
He actually stole a family car. So my dad was right. He just
Wow.
wanted the best for me.
Wow. So that was kind of one of those life lessons. And maybe you had the opportunity to see that your father really was looking out for your best interests.
Definitely.
Definitely. I was wondering, um, if your daughter was present and we did, and you needed to talk with her. And I know you said you're very uncomfortable with the idea of talking with her, and I respect that. But I'm just wondering if we were to do a role play where I would ask questions and you would respond in the way in which you feel your daughter would respond. Would you be interested in doing that role play?
Sure.
Okay. So I'll start like this. Do you love your mother?
I love my mother, but I'm very, very disappointed and angry at my mother.
Are you angry with your mother because she got remarried?
Yes, definitely. She didn't have to get remarried. Most men are no good. Most men just want to use you, and she didn't have to get remarried. She never had to do that at her age.
Had you ever considered that your mother might have been lonely and needed companionship outside of the grandchildren and children?
She didn't need that kind of companionship. She had enough companionship with us, her children, and her grandchildren. So that should have been enough.
Yes. You seem very, very angry about that.
Definitely. I am so angry.
How has this affected you personally?
I have to work overtime. I'm so stressed out. I never had these extra responsibilities. At my age, I should be just settling into my life. And now I have to think about her. And it's not fair.
Kind of sounds like you feel like this was sort of a, not a backlash, but it seems as though this has put you in a bad situation, and you're having to pay the price of her making a decision, is what it sounds like. And it sounds like a lot of your anger is coming from that area.
Definitely.
Okay. So actually with us doing this, it kind of lets me know that you're aware actually of what your mother may be actually feeling and thinking. You're actually aware. Or with your daughter, seems like you're more aware of what your daughter may be feeling, and that's actually a very good thing. Well, at our next session, what I would like to do, if it's okay with you, maybe we can practice some role playing. If you decide, I respect your wishes not to begin talking with your mom at this time. Your daughter at this time, and that's okay. But maybe we can do some role playing to kind of warm you up to the ideal. What do you think about that?
That'd be great.
Okay, great. And we can also revisit some areas of trying to find some housing options for you. How about that?
That'd be fantastic.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for coming in. And I look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much for your help today. I
You're
appreciate it.
very welcome.